Master, what are you doing?
Checking my YouTube comments for video ideas. There aren't too many, but it should still be helpful.
And why are you standing with your laptop in order to do this?
Framing.
Why do you think YouTube comments would be helpful anyway?
Okay, Nine, I do make videos on a variety of topics, so surely there should be at least a few different ones. It was all asking for Toy Story videos. I'm getting sauce tonight. Screw you guys. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh, but can you blame me? Context for the uninitiated. I made a Toy Story video in 2019. It blew up, got me a lot of subs. Then they wouldn't shut up about wanting more Toy Story videos. I think this is mainly kids getting onto their parents' accounts, but seriously, stop it. I have endured 2 years of hell, where I made videos with a ton of passion and love, way more than I did with the Toy Story and Beyond video, which as an aside, was only really made because I already had the toys and needed something quick and easy to film while I was getting ready to move, and while filming a story arc, and it floundered. A fun look at MMPR 2010? Floundered. A Christmas special where I examined my own toxic attitude as a fan? Floundered. A comprehensive analysis of all 3 seasons of the toys that made us? Floundered. All of my Bionicle videos that I put a ton of work into? Floundered. The only videos to approach the Toy Story video success were the Lego Batman DS and Spider-Man web shooter videos. And those honestly were projects I was kind of losing passion for as I made them, and I think it kind of shows in the final product. So, for those to be successful, when my borderline magnum opus Mask Light review that took 3 months of almost constant production to make, and had a ton of technical hurdles up until the end of production fails, my channel name was Bento of Fire when I made that. I am built for Bionicle. I went into the lore, and you know what? They aren't out yet as I write this, but I'm gonna bet that my past 2 videos are gonna fail too. Because all you guys want is Toy Story. Congratulations, y'all! You've made Toy Story an outright hindrance for me. A middle finger to every other creative endeavor I've ever taken. From now on, doing a Toy Story video will be a chore, because I know it'll outshine my main projects in any given year that I do one of them. And look, I still love Toy Story. It's a defining franchise in my life. But I never intended it to be my bread and butter. There's just not much I can do with it. It's a cup I only ever plan to sip from every few years. It's not like Bionicle or Power Rangers or any other franchise where I have a ton of actual meat to chew on and present to you in a way that you might have never thought of or heard of before. Presenting Toy Story to you now is just telling you what you probably already know. And that sucks as a creator. Like, I subscribe to Godzilla Mendoza for his Spider-Man content, but I try to watch his other videos. They're legit interesting. MMPR Toys is always great quality, and their vlog channel is outright god tier, but they're also trapped in a loop of people who only want one thing. And both of these creators clearly love that thing they're trapped in, and unlike me, they need to pay the bills, but I can feel how frustrated they are with how it limits their creativity. I've been afraid of this very thing since day one on my channel. That's why I try to have gaps in between topics. Heck, when 2020 ended up being mostly Bionicle videos, that upset me because it wasn't variety, and I love Bionicle more than some members of my own family. I refuse to be trapped in this cycle, for Toy Story or any other franchise. From this point forward, I make what I want, when I want, and how I want to do it. I don't care where the views are gonna be. If you want to unsub now because I don't want to make Toy Story videos that much, then go ahead. I won't miss ya, and it's better to lose you now than later on.
Get out of here! All of you! You're free! That's an order.
So anyway, this is more of a throwaway video being made because the Sonic video took too long to make, so let's just get into it. Alright, so the download on this one is that in 2009, Toy Story 3 was gonna be coming out the next year, which meant that Thinkway, who were the first people to even make Toy Story toys, had to get their toy hype going. And someone there clearly took a look at their pre-existing Woody and Buzz toys and were like, wait, we never updated these? And thus, they got Pixar to give them some actual model data from the movies, and gave us the Toy Story collection, marketing them as replicas of the movie toys. And already that's kind of a loaded claim. You see, when Pixar designs new toys for the Toy Story movies, they're more designed for animation than actual functionality. Buzz has that karate chop action in the movie, but to give him that in real life basically forfeits that arm's posability. In addition, the toys in Toy Story oftentimes scale to Woody and Buzz's larger 12 to 15 inch height, rather than the industry standard of 8 inches at most. And even that size kinda pushes it. 6 inches is currently the standard for some reason, but during the late 2000s and early 2010s, it was 3 3/4 inch. That's not to say that 12 inch figures don't exist in the kids space, mind you, but they're often given much less articulation than their smaller counterparts, simply due to pricing concerns. The larger heights of Woody and Buzz in the movies are probably based on the fact that a lot of people at Pixar were freaking boomers, who remember when toys like G.I. Joe were a lot bigger and more articulated, which changed when Star Wars came out and took the action figure world by storm, establishing a lot of things we still see some influence from today. While Buzz Lightyear does still carry a lot of cool factor for kids to wish for, there's a lot of stuff we can never hope to live up to, because oftentimes it's either not physically possible, or it wouldn't be practical to manufacture as shown on screen. So no, these are not replicas. They're just as close as we're gonna get to replicas from a mainstream toy company. By the way, just to clarify something here, a replica should, logically, be as close to the original piece as possible. Inaccuracies are bound to crop up, sure, but I'd say that there's a world of difference between Luke Skywalker's Episode 6 lightsaber and Luke Skywalker's Episode 6 lightsaber, wouldn't you? These should be a lot more in the territory of the first example, if they are to be marketed as replicas. But the collection tends to drift more in the direction of the second example. Too close, in my opinion. It'd be like calling my HOW a replica of an actual HOW, you know? Anyway, back to the video. So with all that out of the way, let's talk toys. Okay, let's first talk about the main one I have. Woody. He's one of my main comfort characters, so of course I had to get him. This isn't the best variation since this is after they changed his genes and shortened him in the last variation before Toy Story 4 came out. But it's still pretty good. You might recall that time I did an individual review of him in 2017, but that was very early me, so we're gonna start fresh. His hat is definitely the main appeal here. Most Woody hats opt to just sculpt everything in, but this one has an actual string weaved around it very nicely. I haven't heard of this breaking on any examples, but that's definitely something to look out for. Oddly, his hat is actually a darker shade of brown than the standard Thinkway Woody hat, and has the headband that the standard version lacks entirely. The holes for removing suction are also moved to the back of the hat on the collection one, which kinda makes me question why they made the standard version's hat suck so much, especially since it was made around the same time. The hat fits snugly on its head, and it also fits on the original Thinkway model, so that's a neat synergy. Though getting back on the subject of the standard model at the time, sold for about $20 cheaper, they compromised the quality of the collection one in trying to make them distinct, despite using the same patterns. For example, one of the biggest inaccuracies on the collection one is the belt buckles, spurs, and that thing on his holster all being painted gold, despite being a more orangish yellow in the movie. Well, would you look at what the standard version has? But collection has to look premium, right? So, gotta go gold! And those buttons on his chest, kinda small, oddly placed apart, and the space around them should be a bit wider? Well, I'll be darned. Even if this is a detail that apparently varies between dolls. And look, it's not like I'm expecting all the little details to be that spot on, since the movies themselves kinda screw around with those things a bit. For example, in Toy Story 1 and 2, Woody's badge was more of a thin piece of metal, but they thickened it up a bit for 3 and 4, which wasn't a bad change. Woody's gold ring from where his pull string comes out, which you really had to squint to even see was there before, was also thickened up in 3. And while the previous 3 movies have portrayed Woody's hat as more of a piece of fabric, to the point where one draft of Toy Story 2 had charred in a tailpipe, rather than melted like plastic would be, Toy Story 4 portrayed it more like the collection one looks. As new technologies came out, the character designers at Pixar have tweaked details to seem more realistic. But there are some details that never changed. Those 2 I mentioned were just some of them. For example, in the movies, Woody's arms are not stitched on at this weird angle. The tops of his boots have actual holes, and not cheap drill holes. His hands are splayed open in toy mode, not having the fingers together. His belt isn't going upward from his butt. The ring on his back is gold, not silver. His skin tone is not ghastly pale. His head is floppy, not straight on rotation. And most of all, his mouth is not open. And yeah, I'll retract something from my old review here. They can make the original face work. They did in 2019 on this plush one. Heck, he even has the proper head flop and a better skin tone. I'm not gonna go modifying my collection one like some have, since I'm kinda good on Woody dolls at the moment, but I think you can see why some have done customs with this head. But hey, those hairlines are pretty cool. Okay, I promise not to be that pedantic with all the rest of the toys I gotta talk about, but you guys get what I'm saying here, right? I mean, I can enjoy this doll just fine. He feels pretty nice in hand. It's just, he's not a replica. He's just a very good facsimile. You know, kind of like those die-cast legacy morphers. Mainstream toy manufacturing would not allow this to be a proper replica for collectors. And honestly, the fact that they market it like that is pretty deceptive. Alright, let's just give this bad boy an anal prolapse and voila! Access to his main switch. The first mode, well besides off, is Try Me. This mode just allows you to pull the string and get a small sampling of his sayings. However, the loop restarts not long after you last pulled the string. Probably to save on battery life in the store. The last mode is Play Mode, which has 2 versions. The first one is interactive, where you can hear Woody talk on his own.
Hey, howdy, hey!
Or respond to you in some ways.
Ha ha! Boy, am I glad to see you!
Or you can just be cruel and leave him alone for a while.
Hey, where'd everybody go?
You leave him alone for long enough, and he'll just turn off. Another thing you can do is pull his string, to put him in toy mode, for like 2 phrases, as that will put him back into play mode. It's kind of a shame they couldn't find a better way to implement that switch, since, well, even as a kid I would have found play mode kind of annoying after 5 minutes. If I want him to say something, I'll just pull the dang string, just like in the movie. I guess this still gives you some functionality if the string breaks, but I don't know. Of course, the voice here is that of Jim Hanks rather than Tom, which would have given this doll a bit of extra clout against all the other offerings, but we here at Kanoka Club don't tolerate disrespect towards a man who's done more voice work for Woody than anybody else in the English language. So, get over it. Alright, that's the first one down. What else do I got? Oh look! It's the Green Army Man! In a bucket! Yeah, a feature of the collection are these cool bits of packaging. For characters like Woody and Buzz, who we have at least a general idea of what their boxes might look like, these are pretty cool. For literally anyone else though, who really cares? Oh yeah, and all of the collection pieces also come with a certificate of authenticity that's absolutely worthless. But hey, I guess it's the thought that counts. Actually, scratch that thought because Woody's came in the box bent as all heck. Not cool. Also, these things are extremely easy to replicate, so yeah, the Army Men are about what you expect. Solid soldier toys that greatly resemble the ones in the movie. Well, besides the lack of plastic flashing, but you can't really replicate that reliably, so it's fine. These guys are actually a revision that came early on in the line, as the first versions weren't based on model data, while these were. The first ones actually didn't have a certificate of authenticity because of that, by the way. Still, it's nice to have the bucket even if I have to keep it in storage most of the time. And had to replace the handle with a more generic one, which let's face it, y'all didn't notice till I mentioned it. And now, since I don't have any other figures in the line, let's go through the rest of them through the magic of pictures. Yeah, they basically made the entire line for this figure. I mean, if I had to choose just one figure that I really want from this collection, it would probably be this one. It has all the features from the movies, save for the fully retractable helmet and karate chop action, but who really cares about those features? We've got a wrist communicator, baby! They even did weird stuff like articulating the waist. I mean, who really thinks of doing that? and the interactive and toy modes have been switched to his chest buttons, with the center button being a way to turn his microphone on and off. I could do without the robot head, but alright. I like that they also made the utility belt variant, as previously, Hasbro was the only one to tackle that at the full size. Jessie. She's got yarn hair, her hat has a strap because of that, and wearing the hat muffles the speaker in her head. Alright, toy I guess. Maybe avoid her stand though, since I've heard of hers and Woody's leaving marks on their necks, or the stands getting those wonderful little white stress marks that we all love. Anyway, I vibe with Bullseye. If I ever feel the need to own him, I probably will, I just don't have a need right now. Alright, Toy Story wiki order from here on out, so let's go. Rex is a robot! Why? RC is good except for the part where he has to be raised by a third wheel in order to turn. I think I had an RC toy that could do that back in the day in a movie-accurate fashion, so why can't this one do that? The aliens don't squish or squeak! What is life? Mr. Potato Head is a robot. Why? Lotso is a stinky boy, but honestly I don't mind this one. Dolly, Buttercup, Prickle Pants. They're plush. 9-year coma. Ducky and Bunny are talking plushes and can connect. Neat. Duke of Boom could have been skipped since Mattel's version is just fine, and Bo Peep is the worst figure in the line, I'll explain later. And that's it. That's the entire Toy Story collection! This line ran from 2009 to 2012, before briefly being revived in 2019. And in that original time frame, they did not make a new figure after 2010. They just kept on re-releasing the same old figures with slight variations. That's why I put Toy Story Signature Collection in the tags, by the way. It's basically just the same thing. Do I really need to explain why this is a problem? I'm going to anyway. Okay, take a look back at all the characters they made. You notice how, like, all of them were characters more commonly made in their full scale? To the point where these same sculpts and patterns were used for cheaper versions by the same company? Sure, this is fine for the first wave, if only to drum up some casual interest, but by wave 2 or 3, they should start introducing some lesser produced characters, you know? Like, say, Evil Emperor Zurg, Bo Peep pre-Toy Story 4, Rocky, Wheezy, Mike, and of course, the guy they based 3 other boxes on, Stinky Pete. I didn't include Ham because I nearly made one, just FYI. These characters are just a small sampling of what you could do to fill the shelves of your average collector, or to give a kid some extra toys to play with. I can tell you as a fact that I will have killed for full-size Zurg and Stinky Pete as a kid, and that's what most collectors today want. I mean, even a fairly casual Toy Story collector like me picked up the Disney Store Zurg, or the Woody's Roundup Classic Pack from Mattel, when they actually stocked it at least. Because those are characters that made a lasting impression on me. After all, Zurg is way cooler than Darth Vader, am I right? And why would I only want 3 out of the 4 members of the Roundup gang? And this still applies to the 2019 revival, since every new release had a cheaper version from Mattel that was just as good as a collection offering. You guys really made an inaccurate Bo Peep without her lamp and sold it for $100. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that? This line started at just $50 for a toy like Woody or Buzz, but in 2019, the price was doubled to $100. For any figure apparently, since even the non-electronic characters like Bo Peep were sold at that price. Honestly, with the massive price point and lack of proper variety, it just kinda begs the question, who is this line made for? Let's establish something straight up. I believe that there's a lot of overlap in what kids want and what adult collectors want in their toys. But there are some things that are clearly more intended for children than adults. Like, remember when all of Hasbro's figures came with missile launchers? I doubt kids really played with them all that much, but that was the intended audience for them. So when you're making something called the Toy Story Collection and marketing them as replicas at higher price points, why are you including features specifically designed for kids? Like, why is Buzz's head on automated spin when he has all that posability? Why not go all in on the collector part and give him a double ball peg? A Buzz Lightyear that could actually look up while flying is something everyone would like. Or maybe go all in on the kid angle, in which case, why does he have all this extra articulation? Why make Mr. Potato Head into a robot? Most people in general would just take a standard Mr. Potato Head with more movie-accurate sculpting. This doesn't really appeal to anyone. Plus, some of the boxes are questionable in concept. Like, Rex's concept as a character was based on cheap dinosaur toys with spray paint jobs. So, in the universe of Toy Story, why would he have this deluxe packaging? Ducky and Bunny are carnival toys. The only packaging they'd have is a plastic bag. Heck, most plushes in general don't tend to have dedicated packaging like this. Just tags. So we can just throw all that out. Duke Kaboom's packaging doesn't seem to actually resemble any Evel Knievel packaging that there is, and he is a reference to that, by the way. So why is it considered special? The concept of what this special packaging is supposed to be only works with Buzz, Woody, and the Roundup Gang, and everyone else is just kind of shoehorned into it without any regard for how that would actually work. So like, it fails as a collector line, but not many kids can really afford to be a loyal Toy Story collection fan, especially when the cheaper offerings are fairly similar in quality, so, again, who is this made for? But look, if you really want to see this line fail, just look at Bo Peep. Okay, we do have an improvement on the box at least. This does look like something a cheap novelty lamp for babies would come in. Just the shame that they made it look like it came with a lamp. And yeah, the doll itself is more based on her slight redesign for Toy Story 4, where she has thicker arms, bigger eyes, a less floofy skirt, and her skin color has been changed from white to a flesh tone. They say this was to improve her animation, but really it was just to make her fit the new direction her character took. And like, I don't mind the part where they adjusted her personality, I just minded the part where they gave her a butt-ugly outfit. There's a reason I sought out a doll with her classic look available. So this should be right up my alley, right? Well, for $100, you're really just getting a barely articulated plastic doll with a fake porcelain effect that just makes it look kind of sweaty. But tell me if you see the big issue here. It's okay if it takes you a moment, it's not immediately obvious. I'll give you a few seconds. So, this $100 replica figure, made of the wrong material, cannot do her main pose, even if you made a custom version of her lamp base. I think we can all agree that this line has kinda lost the plot. So overall, this line sucks. Look, I'm not denying that I made some good products. Those products just weren't good enough to save the whole line for me. This is a line that should hold a special place in my heart as a Toy Story fan. But I just don't get the hype. But look, don't think me to just be a blind hater. I just think we deserve better. And what you should really be asking yourself is if you agree. Anyway, I'm gonna go piss myself or something, I don't know.